Okay, Kingdom of Heaven. This is the final scenario, failed alliance, the fall of the Crusader states. But it's not really. It's a fantasy scenario. The Mongols several times tried to ally with the Christian states here. This is one of the sort of greatest of failures in a sense. The Mongol Khan sent out an emissary to the kings in Europe and said, look, I'm going to attack and I'm going to be in Damascus. And here's the date. Meet me there. And Christian Europe was unable to heed this and to send a significant force. And essentially the Crusader states were destroyed. And I don't even know if the Mongols actually attacked in force. But this is a what if. What if Philip IV of France led his army here in and tried to save the Crusader states? Because honestly, we saw in the last scenario what's left, and there's more left now than there was at the end of my scenario. At the end of my scenario, I believe, for the Lion of Egypt scenario, we saw the fall of the Crusader states. The only thing left was Aleppo. Everything else had fallen. So, yes, Armenia was still there, but Armenia is still here in this. Armenia plays no real role in this. It's just neutral castles, which someone could take. We're back to the normal victory point system. And let me mark those suckers down. Christian starts out with 10, Muslims with 21. And it's only 6 turns. There's some coordination issues, etc. I looked at the new cards very briefly, but I want to be kind of surprised by them. But yeah, this is a situation where you have a powerful Mongol leader again, although not as powerful as Huelga. We have Qualawan back in the game here, but with his position as Sultan now. I believe he's Sultan, not Caliph. I can never keep track of who actually held the title where. Anyway, he's fairly decent. He's not Baibars. And a crusade that's actually happening, as opposed to the prior scenario where it was likely not to happen. The victory conditions for this one, the Christians have to have 19 victory points. So they've got to take some significant stuff, but not that much. 9 victory points of cities. Well, Antioch has fallen, so that's a tasty treat. The castles aren't worth anything special in this. I really didn't like that about the last scenario. If the Christians can't make that, the Muslims have to have 18 or more. Now, they're right now at 21. So, quite simply, if they lose some points, they're going to, not be able to win. So, if this crusade is effective, and you can see there's a fair-sized Crusader force, about the same size. There's a decent force already gathered in Acre, with some powerful Uber units, but they aren't going to replace at a good rate, and obviously the Crusaders don't. And then there's the Mongols, who are about equivalent to the Muslim forces. So it should be a little challenging on the Muslims, I think, to pull off a victory out of this. Maybe there'll be cards that'll help them, etc. What I saw didn't look good for them. Well, things start off kind of ugly for the Crusaders right off the beginning. They played an active subordinate. Now remember, I allow these because they're 3-point cards to be used as a naval move. Naval move is automatic from the Mediterranean, even though they're using the event. In this case, I tried to move Philip, but this commercial rivalry, Christian player can't do naval movement in the Mediterranean this turn, can cancel the Venetian and Genoan fleet cards in addition to the above effects. I don't think. Unfortunately, there's no counter for this. Most of the events actually come with a little counter, including the ones that are specific to a single scenario. But this one doesn't seem to have one, even though it has more of a long-lasting effect than some of them. There's also a little marker to keep track of the number of rounds that have gone by. I don't know how terribly valuable that is. Really not sure what that's worth. There's a number of these counters that I just generally just have in a pile, and mainly you don't really need them. That's often the case with the CDGs, but anyway. That canceled his fleet movement. I think the regular fleet cards can still be used. The way this is worded, it only cancels a fleet card as it's played, but I'm not sure. That's how I'm going to do it. But you still can't move navally. You could use it in a siege. And then the Muslims played Trouble in Europe, which removed the constable. Now this state's removed from the game a certain number of steps. Simply taking losses to the steps isn't really removed from the game. Anyway, I took the actual counters out, taking as many steps off the counters as I could. It was 4 steps, so 2 counters went away. Again, I'm not sure if that's required. Crusaders can't really recover their points, so I probably am charging them too much. But now we're back on the Christian turn. I forgot to mention the other part. The Mongols swept in through Mosul. They tried to get Manbij but to surrender. They failed, and that's none too unlikely with this big army here. That's within striking distance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It was able to provide a penalty. There wasn't much chance of it. They did take an attrition. I think they took 1 step there. That's a problem which the Muslims may want to charge up and deal with. Well, they didn't deal with it quickly enough. They moved over to Antioch with that big 5 sitting on there. They didn't think it was likely to fall, especially since the Christian, the Mongols in this case, were drawing already for an attack siege event. Well, they drew one and got a good one here. Battering ram reduced it by 2. That dropped it to a 3. They went ahead with the assault. The Muslims did not have a good defensive card, so they couldn't respond. So, what do we got? Aleppo has fallen, and the points have been handled on there. What I didn't do, although I don't know how much value it is I didn't roll for a diplomatic advantage, which actually goes to the pro-Muslim side. There's not much value to it in this game. There's no diplomacy in it, but there is a set of neutrals. Those you could demand free passage through them. That's about the only effect. A massive battle between the Muslims and Mongols. The Mongols intercepted from Aleppo. That gave them a slight advantage. They also had a strength advantage, but although they won the battle, I gotta check the victory on that. And now they get this. It wasn't a major victory. However, it does put them in a position where maybe they can begin a siege of Antioch. The problem with that is there's a lot of forces here. You can win that kind of situation, but it's kind of a tough play compared to well, this guy's so tiny he's not able to take anything by just cowing them, by walking through them. So, and with an enemy in place, maybe the best move is to try to siege Antioch, tie those troops up, and see what can happen. After taking Aleppo but leaving it ungarrisoned, which is risky as hell, they ended up landing in Antioch and laying siege, and they should have dropped troops off. They had some good cards, though, and got the number down to 3, made an assault. They rolled better. They were at bad odds, though. The assault, they didn't get chased away or anything. They didn't get destroyed. Well, not that that happens, really. But they took 7 losses to their opponent's 4. The reason they made the assault, though, is the chance that they're going to have to give up this siege. Come back for the end of turn, whether they demobilize. Ooh, Mongols never demobilize. What the hell? Well, they actually had too many troops to leave there, but they never demobilize. Well, that was a screw up. Oh well. And quite simply, well, since they don't demobilize, there wasn't really an issue. They demobilized the special Crusader units, the hospitalers, etc., just because it gives me more flexibility. They're probably going to show up back in Acre again. Definite interesting issue, though, where the Crusaders are going to land. They may want to land in Antioch. Well, that's ugly. Yeah, I think they're going to have to land down near Acre or in Acre and start working on the Damascus issue. The Mongols aren't. They're the one. Well, actually, it wouldn't be dangerous. The Mongols are holding things off there. The problem is, I don't really have too. A handful of cards doesn't necessarily work well with two big forces. So when you have the enemy kind of pinned like this, you may not need the additional cards. Of course, on the other hand, those additional cards are useful because I pulled another leader off the map from Cairo, and they'll be able to play around with that leader. So the Crusader might want to hunt him down. But Antioch's my big goal right now with the Mongols, as well as making sure Aleppo's defended, which is kind of an icky thing. Alright, on to turn 2 then. Alright, kicking off turn 3 here. The Mongols left a key opening with Aleppo. Now this is kind of a problem. It may mean having to spend an early 1-point card to go garrison it. They have the initiative just to prevent the Muslims from taking it. But on that side, if they give the Muslims the initiative by moving into Aleppo, in a sense, they're just asking to be attacked. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that can't reach. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the Muslims can't quite reach in one shot, but it does slow down the conquest of Antioch. By at 4, maybe it won't fall at once. There's still a significant Muslim force here in Antioch. I need hands for that. And then we also have the question, hey, do the Crusaders actually make it this turn? Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. So the Muslims kind of chickened out here. They counted that army. They looked at their leader and saw he can only command 4 units. Their big leader's stuck in Antioch. That's their problem. Well, they're laying siege to Aleppo. They can't really face either of the big armies without their big leader out. So I'm not sure quite what they're hoping for here. Maybe to prosecute the war north into the Mongol territories and just try to see if they can gain as quickly or not much more slowly than the crusading army can, hoping that this big Mongol army doesn't actually win at Antioch. The crusading army, as you can see, is on the map and ready to move against Damascus. We see what the Crusaders did. They marched up, set up a couple of the crusading orders, castles here, and laid siege to Damascus. A little bit of an advance in Aleppo, but not much. And to finish off the turn, the Crusaders take Damascus. Points reflected there, 16 to 15 now, victory point wise. That hasn't yet given it to a Christian victory. It's taken the Muslim chances away, however, at this point. Aleppo, well, the siege events, there was a random draw one, went against the Muslims there, and they had one more card in their hand at the end, and they ended up playing a truce, and we've got 4 rounds where basically nothing can happen in terms of entering one another's territory, etc. That could allow the Crusaders, say, to reposition up to Edessa or something. Basically, it's just buying time, because right now the Muslims feel like they've got a significant disadvantage. I'm not sure how much help it's going to really do, though, because the sieges can't be prosecuted. Nothing can really happen. It might be better for the Crusaders, allowing their troops to come in, etc. Hard to tell. We got to check for that stupid diplomacy advantage. And let's see, it stays in the Christian hands. The Crusaders had one additional card, Corsairs over here, which they used to pluck off a couple of Muslims inside the Antioch castle, which is kind of a cool usage of that. Take a look at demobilization. I don't think there's a possibility of the of some, well, there is going to be some there at Damascus, and there might be some, the Muslims over in Aleppo. Yeah, that truce was a bad play. The besieging force had to go home. The big problem is the Crusaders and the Mongols don't disappear. There's a couple Jerusalem troops that could in the midst of a siege, but for the most part, the Christian player or Christian allies, including the Mongols, of course, can siege indefinitely, but the Muslims cannot, and the truce took away what they had gained in Aleppo. And now they got a hard ride to get a troop from anywhere. They've got to start back in Cairo in terms of cities, if that's what they want to do. Or they can scatter a lot of troops around and work to gather them, which is the more reasonable thing to do. But this looks pretty bad for the Muslims right now. All right, I'm going to load this one up.